Morning. Well, good morning, Sophie. Thank you so much for being here with us on the Unruly Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are going to get right into it today. Our surprise question for you at this bright and early time of the morning is there a lesson or theme in your life right now that you're learning that really surprised you that your younger self would have completely felt the opposite about or thought that this thing would never be true?
Oh my gosh, wow, that question took a turn because I feel I just did sort of like an inventory of what am I focused on right now? And so I was like,
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. If you're hearing a bell, it's my cat scratching himself, and I just don't think there's a way for me to exclude him from this conversation. So apologies to your listeners. Um Uh, and so, okay, like what would my younger self be surprised by? I am not sure because I feel pretty much like things are sort of naturally extending. I think it's shocking how much there he goes. I think it's shocking how much better things get as you get older. I think, and I know that's not always true for everybody, but for me, I think it is true, and I think it's true for most people. And I work with young people. I work with college freshmen now, and I used to work mostly with college or high school seniors. So that's my favorite age. I love the 18 where you're all kind of goofy and like, what am I doing with my life? It's all possibility. And everyone tells you at that time, like, that's the best time of your life, like this is where everything's possibilities and it's so exciting and you can do anything. And I think that's wrong. I think it's actually the hardest. It's really hard. And you do find your way into like a self that feels comfortable. And most people I know I'm about to turn 40, most people I know who are my age, I think are in that camp of really feeling comfortable with themselves. And then it's just the thing about life is that you can't have all the good things at once. Like I'm in love with spring. It's about to be spring. And I've decided just this year that spring is my favorite season. I thought it was summer because I really like to be outside and, in the sun. But summer is you have to be really present and savoring it, and spring is all exciting and it's like, oh, things are gonna start soon and all these possibilities. And the reason to like it is to should be that feeling of excitement is fun, and I think it is fun. But the truth of spring, once it starts to happen, is that the flowers don't all bloom at the same time. So you might have this vision of like the tulips and the hydrangeas and the lilacs, like all exploding at once. And that's just not how nature works. You get like one pretty thing at a time. And so it is with your human body. You like get this wisdom when you're 40, but you just don't get to have your teenage body. And you just can't have those things at the same time. You can't have all the good things at the same time. It's true with kids too. Like once I have a daughter, she's 4, and there's things you want her to grow out of, and then she'll grow out of that thing. But there's a new thing that is that's in its place, and you just don't ever get all the versions of of the person at once, which is very sad. But also, would it be worth living if there was any kind of if there was that amount of abundance? It wouldn't be interesting.
Yeah. How do you sort of cope with? I'm thinking of this right now because I feel like we went from one problem to another problem in the world, and that's the anti-aging fad right now, where everyone's obsessed with skin being tight and not looking like we're progressing through life. And I think there's not a conversation around what you're talking about is like the benefits of aging, which is like a completely natural process. And so for the people who might be struggling with my body's changing, I'm not a teenager anymore, it's not the same. How do you sort of like, I don't even want to say cope with it because that implies that it's like this really bad thing that's hard for everyone, but how do you sort of wrestle with the fact that like you're gaining all of this, all of these good things, you're coming into yourself, and then, your body's going to be different and like your abilities might be different and things are just changing.
I mean, it's so interesting that you say that. I have a hypothesis that like where you are on the internet is different than where I am on the internet, and because of our
Yeah.
ages, our 1 decade age difference. And I think I'm remembering when I was 30. God, I can't believe that was only 10 years ago because it was when I moved here, and I felt it feels recent, but it's not. It also feels a million years ago. I remember that being the time that that content was really in my orbit too, like right then. And just, I mean, starting maybe when I was 28, like I just remember thinking like, oh my God, there's all this anti-aging stuff all of a sudden. Like, what is this? But I'm pretty sure that going back to the dawn of like women have to be young, that people at the age of around 30 start to get that messaging, and it feels really like it's permeating their space. So I'm really sorry you're in that right now. I do think it changes. I do think it changes, and that, you start to get other content. I'm entering, like everybody around me is talking about perimenopause, and that's great. It's really interesting,
Mhm.
fun to learn about. Um, and I also know some research that says that like women in their 40s are pretty unhappy as they go through perimenopause. So I'm not in my 40s yet, but I'm prepared for it to be a tough little jaunt. But that women in their 60s are the happiest group of any
Mhm.
groups of people on the planet. So I do see it as like the best stuff is ahead of me, and it's like continues to be. And aging is just a privilege. It just is. I now have had a number of friends who have had cancer, and that also wasn't really true in my 20s. I mean, that sort of starts a little bit later, and who have survived cancer or who continue to, be living with the ramifications of that. And they're really clear on like, oh my God, like our wrinkles don't matter at all. Like you want to stay alive. Like it would be nice to stay
Yeah.
alive. It would be nice to have like time with your family, and to have a family and to feel appreciation. So it just does start to feel less important. But there's
Mhm.
like a lot of deaths all the time. Like there's the death of like, oh, like I can't be a movie star. Like I can't be on SNL. I can't like be, all these little dreams that are secretly in the back of your mind. Like maybe I could do this cool thing. You're just like, I actually can't do that anymore. Like my life has passed that point, and that's
Mhm.
sad. You have to land, and you don't get to do everything, and that is sad. But
Mhm.
it's also fine. And I just think I feel sad that you have this content on your feed. But yes, I would just
Yeah.
like anytime you see it, I'd be like, oh man, aging is a gift. Aging is a gift. Like I want to be old. Like it's gonna be so great to be old. So I just want to get old. There's a lot of pro aging content also. It's lots of pro aging influencers. I think I fall on the side of like, I mean, this is thinking a lot about age and who cares. And just like, this is thinking about this is not, doesn't get you really anywhere. Time just keeps going. So, I don't know. And also, what is time? What is it? We don't know. We can't know.
We don't know. We have no idea. We're just trying to make it up to
We're
feel
just
more
trying to make it
comfortable.
up. We're just trying to make it up. But it's going to be okay. It's pretty, mostly things can be pretty fun. I actually don't have any patience for people who don't think that it's mostly there's a lot of fun stuff. Whoops. I just don't have a lot
Yeah.
of patience for it.
No, no, I don't blame you. I think that, I don't know. Even though I'm only approaching 30, time has started to feel time, has started to feel like it's going fast. Like I just look back and I'm like, whoa, I was just there. I was just there. And so I also think my patience for that sort of stuff, the anti-aging content, the these are all the problems that are to come with your body deteriorating and all of that. It's like I already feel over it, you know?
Oh yeah, good. It's true. It's like it's true, but I think we're thinking about it wrong because like when you're 18, you don't think about how your body is working really well because you have nothing to compare it to. You're right that when you're 40, your body doesn't work as well as when it's 18, but your mind works really well and your ability to weather difficulty is way better. Like you do get better at that stuff because you do it over and you practice it. And so like, oh, you got to appreciate that. You just have to sink into the appreciation of that. And remember back when you were 18 and you were like crying on the bathroom floor and you were like, I'll never be okay ever again. And you're
Yeah.
okay. And like, you know that you're going to be okay. You have this like beautiful understanding of the okayness of it all. And I don't know like how long that lasts, but it as so long as you have it, I mean, that part of you is more fit than it's ever been. Like you're in great shape. So don't like repeat the mistakes of being 18 and not appreciating your young body. Like don't be 30 and not appreciate the wisdom that you have now because it's really worth appreciating. There's a chickadee outside. The spring birds are going to come pretty soon. It's really exciting. I feel like I have
I
another thing to say to you. Oh, I do. When's your
Yeah.
birthday?
March 19th, so it's
Oh
coming
my
up
gosh,
soon.
it's really soon.
Yeah.
It's in a month. Are you doing anything fun? Sorry,
I
this is not
am
what your
taking
podcast is about.
No, that's okay. We just follow the roads where they appear here. I'm taking a group trip I'm taking people on a group trip to Guatemala and what else am I doing? I'm probably just gonna have a bonfire with friends. Like I
I
really
mean,
just want to sit with friends
is it
outside
your
at
30?
night.
It's your 30? Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, Kalen. I'm so excited for you. That sounds so fun. Hooray.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels I don't know. It feels cool to kind of see all this anti-aging content and all of this stuff that people are like, you should be afraid of and not be afraid of it.
Yeah,
Like
don't be
that
afraid of
feels
it.
good. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, don't.
I'm in a good place with that.
Oh, it just gets better. Oh my God, it just gets better and better. That's really how I feel. I used to say that to the teens a lot. I feel like these people who are telling you this is the best time in life, like if you're not liking it, then they're wrong. You can like your life. You don't have to not like your life. It gets better.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo, I love that we started off with that because it's been top of mind for me and yeah, it feels like all of these themes are coming together in my personal life. So I appreciate your wisdom on that.
What kismet. Do you know my name means wisdom? My mom would want me to tell you that.
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa. See,
Yeah.
this is why I love the surprise questions because here we are. This was
Here we
like
are.
perfect. Beautiful. So, we are talking about today your book, which is called Kin, The Future of Family. And at the beginning of the book, I believe it was at the beginning of the book, you wrote, at the end of the world, we will belong to each other. And I believe that in the end, that will be enough. And I'm really curious as to what you see as the end of the world, because I think a lot of people feel politically like right now, like, we're in the end of the world and we're spinning out of control. And then also, why do you think that will be enough?
I really like heard you read that and was like, yeah, I believe that. I'm glad and I was like, oh yeah, well, I wrote that, so that makes sense. Um, but I really fundamentally, that is in the intro, I think. And I do believe that that is in the middle. Well, first of all, people have always, since the beginning of the written word, thought it was the end of the world. And people have always said, this is the worst that it's ever been politically, like for at least my whole life. I've never, there's not ever really been a moment, barring like the month after Obama was elected, the month after Biden was elected, that people on the left have always said like it's never been this bad, it's never been this bad. And I do think in some ways that it's there are things, I mean, Trump is scary and like really a weird guy. Sorry, but
No,
he's not
he
like
is. I look at him
he's
and I
not
think he's so
normal.
weird.
This is not
Yeah.
a normal, this is a mentally ill person in charge of our, democracy. And that I see why that's scary. And I appreciate the fear around it, because, fear is very powerful, and it compels people to move, and movement is really important. Um, and also, like, there is progress that hasn't been erased, that isn't gone. And like the level of the fury, and like people feeling safe in their fury also is in the 2000s, I really remember I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and we were all like fighting for gay marriage. And first of all, you couldn't be out. I'm in Portland, the most liberal city in America, and you couldn't be out. Like, you would be attacked if you were out. Now I teach in Chicago, and I don't have any students who aren't queer, like zero. I mean, truly, don't
Yeah.
think I have any who don't identify as like, some variety of queer. And that's different. And like, it's better. That's better. That's better. And so that's not to say that we fixed everything. It is to say, like, don't forget that there always is progress, and then it's always sort of a pendulum. But I'm of that mindset that the pendulum swings ultimately toward justice, because that's really where that's like what history has shown us, is that we don't pull people apart. And I'm thinking of like being drawn and quartered right now. We don't like torture
Mhm.
people anymore, and we do
Yeah.
torture them, but not in the same way. Okay, but that, here is this white lady saying, like, it's not that bad. I know it's really bad. It is really bad. It's just holding all of these truths at once, and that can feel really tricky. But also, it is possible. We're very capable of holding a lot of things at one time. So, end of the world. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's always the end of the world. And what is the world? And what is the universe? And what is time? And I don't know any of this. And it's really important that I don't know any of it. And I don't think people are supposed to. I think we're very hubristic. Hubristic means something else as a noun. So I'll say I think we're very arrogant in terms of thinking we can know things that we can't, and as individual animals, like, shouldn't, maybe. I mean, I think we're really pushing. I think it's because of fear of what we don't know. But like, the unknown is normal and okay. So I can say with like some scientific certainty that life as we know it on Earth is undergoing a mass extinction, and we're losing species every minute. And that is because of human wrought climate disaster, period. And that is bad. And more people and animals will die because we are not changing our behavior around how we consume energy. And that is not great. We don't love that. But I think the problem is the individualism. I think that is the problem, is that we think of ourselves as individuals, as kings, as like people who have as heroes or villains or whatever, rather than as a species or as an entity. And if I really truly believe that, like, with my whole heart, which I can, it's possible to do this, that, it's about my species, that my animal self is a member of my species, and I'm taking care of other animals, then I am not as afraid of my own, peril and downfall. I see myself as like a part of a fabric and that feels really warm in my body, like, okay, because I'm gonna die, and everyone is gonna die, and that I just don't know that has to be terrifying. I think it can be like, if we're taking really good care of each other, then we're like participating the way that biology wants us to participate. And in community, in network, as we're all together, we use less stuff, and we take up less space individually. We create more good. We do more good for the planet. And so it's our survival depends on us working together. We're not there's not enough there isn't enough for us to each have a globe-sized portion. Like, That doesn't
Mm.
make sense either. It's just, we are all, this is so clear. We're all so clearly connected. And if you want to argue about that, like, tell me one thing that you consume or that keeps you alive that isn't, growing out of the earth. It's just really all, who knows why, who knows the reason, but the, the outcome of being alive ought to be like, keep your species going. And if Donald Trump is the only person alive, I mean, he's gonna die. Will
Yeah.
end. It'll end.
Yes,
So
it will end.
this just doesn't work one by one or even two by two. It's just not doesn't work that way. And there's a lot of biology to back that up, biological research to back that up. But anyway, you've got like some science here and some woo woo here. Sophie is doing both right now. It's early in the morning.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what life is, isn't it? It's like the science that we think we do know that always changes. And then the woo woo, I just feel like is like what we don't know, what we're not supposed to know. I, what you were saying about humans trying to figure everything out, I'm thinking about this so much right now because when you look at other animals who have this inherent ability to just be present, it's like something that we really struggle with, that we're like really struggling with. And I think it's because they just don't know so many things, so many of these facts and like other people's problems. And I mean, they know other things in their own way, but like human things that we are obsessed with knowing and figuring out, these things that are a part of life that we have to experience. It seems to me like they're just experiencing it and they're not trying to dissect everything. And
Yeah. I mean, that's just another like it's interesting that you phrase it that way just because it's like we have no way to know what animals know and like what they're doing and what they're thinking, and that's another thing we really like keep trying to parse out and find a way into, but we're parsing it the way, using our consciousness, which I our consciousness has very complex and flexible language, and that is different than other species. Certainly we can like pin that down, but we can't pin down how their brains work. It's actually like I'm staring out my window looking at birds right now. There's like a cardinal pair on this branch. And one of the reasons I love birds so much is because scientists keep trying to figure things out about them that they can't. And it's like, okay, well, we've been studying birds for thousands of years and we have no way to figure out like why they do this or how they do that. And it's just like this really, I just think, fabulous reminder that yeah, you're not going to know everything, man. Like you're just not, and let it go and be here. I do think you're right. Like when I'm with my cat, he's so clear. I have two cats, but the one that's over there, he's so clearly just here now and following his whims. And um God love him.
yeah,
He seems pretty happy. But who knows?
yeah.
Again, like who knows anything? But
Who
yes,
knows? We don't know.
but I do think if you spend a lot of time around plants and animals and mushrooms, which are in their own category, um,
Mhm.
you just like it's very difficult to believe that humans are supreme or like godly. It just is because there's so much else going on. But it's hard to see that because we've evolved to this consciousness that is, okay, I've never said this before. I've never thought it before, but
Ooh.
there are these birds that have these like unbelievably long tail feathers, like all the way, just so long, like feet long. That might be an exaggeration, but like five times as long as their body, and they're, ornate and they're really pretty. And, you see one and you're like, oh my God, how is that? I mean, this is science fiction. How is this here? You know, but the tail feathers are not great for their survival, but through evolution have been sexually selected. Like for some reason, they have evolved these tail feathers and they keep getting longer and longer. But ultimately, like those birds are endangered. They're dying out. And this is sort of how I feel about our our consciousness. It's like a very long tail feather that really maybe got out of control at some point, and like it's not as great as we think it is. It's maybe weighing us down a bit.
Mm. I could not agree with that more. I could not agree with that more, especially the way that technology's going with AI and all of these things. I feel like we're probing into a dangerous place, and it's like, whoops, we maybe went a little too far there. Can we reel it back in?
Mm-hmm. And maybe we can't, but I don't think humans are going to be the last species. Like, I just don't see us as surviving the earth. And I might be
Yeah.
wrong, but I think there's really intelligent, there's species who have been here so much longer than we have. Species that survive are very small, and they also, they move in groups, and that the end. And we are large and we try to separate ourselves. So we just don't have great chances. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
We'll have our reign.
Yeah. For me, it's like that's one of the things that just makes me feel okay with things sometimes. I mean, what we were talking about Donald Trump, he's going to die one day. All of us, we are going to die one day. Human species, we are probably not going to be here one day, and everything just regenerates and comes back differently, and things will go on. Like, it's not the end of the world. Even for like dinosaurs, when extinction happened, it's the end of their world, not the end of the world. Um, and things will go on. And it's a little scary, but it also is comforting to me.
They were here, dinosaurs, for much longer than we have been here. Like that's something to think about. Like like inconceivably longer they were on the earth than humans have been on the earth. And it's just like not a way that our brain can conceive of time. We kind of see them as having been here for a short time because they weren't here while we were here. But they were here just like millions of years. I mean, oh look, I'm going to get that number wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I do know much longer than humans have been on Earth, and that's, um, and yeah, nothing is too big to die. I think I wrote that in the book that like we're not too big to die in piles. Like we're not. We're not. And I agree with you. Who knows? Who knows? There might be 1,000 other Earths. Who knows?
Who
Who
knows?
knows?
Here's the thing, I don't need to know. I'm interested in these
We don't need
things.
to
Like, I'm
know.
reading a book about all the mass extinctions right now, about the dinosaurs. Like, this book is
What's the
is blowing
book?
my mind.
What's the
Oh
book?
god,
Should I read the book?
I was
You can
you
Google
should
it.
read the book. Um Mass
Take your time.
Extinction book. It has a red cover. What is it
Oh,
called?
a red cover.
A red Okay, it's called The Sixth Extinction: An Unnatural
Mm.
History by Elizabeth Colbert. And
Okay. I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Elizabeth Kolbert, if you're
yeah,
out there listening, we love this book.
we love this book because she admits things that I think other people are too afraid to admit, like, oh, this was what we thought we knew about science then, and this is what we know now, and it's completely different. And I could be making the same mistake right now as a scientist. And basically,
So
we don't
wise.
know.
We don't
Which is
know.
what we're
We don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
She she also talks about in the book, one of my biggest takeaways is that some things that at the time were really great for a species to adapt to what's happening in their environment and like keep them alive. At other times a new factor is introduced and then that's their downfall. And I think that humans want to be prepared for everything and feel like we can get through anything, and we just can't.
Yeah, we can't. It's okay. It's okay.
So everyone can relax. We're all gonna be gone one day.
Just calm down. It's all it's all
Just
it's
calm
all gonna
down.
end.
Yeah.
Enjoy it
Um,
while you can.
so you're talking about in your book, kin as sort of, yeah, a remedy to staying alive, maybe living better while we're alive. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you can define the word kin for people who are just hearing that or thinking about it for the first time.
Wow, really good segue. I liked how you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, you I read that question and I meant to pull up my definition. So I'm just going to summarize it because I don't remember exactly how I defined it. But you know what? If you want a really, well thought out language definition, you should look at this book. But the gist of it is kin would be the people in your life who are essential for your survival, and that includes people who are not your partner and not your kids, not your parents in your family of origin, but your closest friends, and people who are so close that like friend doesn't feel right. Like that's not enough of a word, but you don't have another word because we don't really have language for for these types of people. And then I also think there are peripheral kin who are people who aren't like your best friend, but also are so essential to our survival, like your neighbors and your loose ties and your mentors and, the people who, again, sort of exist outside the traditional definition of friend, but you can't survive without them. So this concept is about surviving and how we need each other. So kin would be the people who hold you together.
You also mentioned like groups of people who have been relying on kin for forever. And one of those
Mm,
groups is queer people. Like
yeah.
this idea of like rebuilding your family or building your queer family is
Hmm.
huge. And we have a lot of queer listeners. So I think that that will resonate with them. But in the book, you're really, I don't want to say arguing, but you're like, encouraging people to like strengthen those bonds with kin, create kin if they don't have it. And one of the things you talk about is the failed promises of the nuclear family model. And I'm wondering what some of those failed promises are that you see.
Sure. The nuclear family is a relatively new concept. It's sort of born out of the Industrial Revolution, as are most things we think of as, integral to our existence. Uh, also, I'm going to just take a step to the side here and address, yes, like queer history has depended on chosen family and outside of family of origin, and going back to the beginning of queer records, and that's essential. There's some of I have some of that in the book. My editors kind of didn't want me to do a ton of history, but there is some really great history. I mean, obviously there's other books for that, but we are leaning strongly on people who none of these ideas are new. Also non-white people, non-Western people, people who are um, surviving very well in, non-Western places are living in matriarchal configurations, like much more community center configurations. And then also immigrant communities in the United States often live in multi-generational families out of necessity, but also it is shown to be like very beneficial in terms of mental health and joy. So just to point out, like I'm not saying anything that truly most humans don't know, but the readership that is buying books is woefully unequipped with these tools. So okay, nuclear family, yes. And historically, another just quite racist and heteronormative and uh, mononormative idea. Uh, 1930s is sort of when we first started to hear about it. It conceptualizes the family as a mother and a father and children, and it was sort of idealized, and that's the nucleus, so that's where we get the nuclear. I think it's confusing
Okay.
because it's also right around when we started to talk about nuclear war, but we're talking about
Mm.
the nucleus of an atom, this different nuclear. um and the promise was that would be enough, like that would sustain you in America. Pre-industrial revolution, people did live in large family groups on farm and agricultural properties. And then after we started to see factories and industry pop up, young people started moving into cities and getting married much younger because they were very lonely. They no longer had their family around them, so they got married super young, like 18, 19, and starting these families that were supposed to be take care of all their needs. And in fact, I mean, we know so well that traditionally that means the man goes to work, makes enough money to support the rest of the family. The woman stays at home and keeps the household thrumming. And because that isn't possible for one person to do, all of these products got invented that were supposed to make life easier, like ironing machines and dishwashers and vacuum cleaners. And it didn't make life easier. It made the standard for what was possible higher, and it made life harder. And so, all of these women who are having children very young are depressed and miserable and have no connection with anybody because they have to keep house all day and watch their kids all day. And then, this concept of like a bored housewife is really just a woman who doesn't have any people around, but she has a lot to do, but no people. And then we get to the 80s where it's like, well, women can work, but there's still the same amount to do in this nuclear household. So who's doing all of this work? Well, still it's women, and then they're going to work on top of that. And that's not better. That's just adding another, layer. And so when you see people who seem to be making the nuclear family model work, they're employing help. That is like not a nuclear family. They're like bringing in people to help them run their household because it's not enough for two people to do it. It just isn't. We're not designed to do that. I mean, not to say we're designed at all, but like people did not evolve to be that's the unit. So the promise it's just like so profoundly wrong and broken. And also because this concept was ideal, it was really capitalized on during World War II as like, this is what's at stake. And that was like not just the mother, father, kids. It's like the white mother, father, kids. And so if you were, a person of color who wanted this nuclear family, you're going to need to move into a neighborhood that's going to hate you, basically, because this is not actually available to you, which makes that even more unattainable because, like, at least some women who lived in neighborhoods had like friends that they could sometimes talk to, like in the afternoons. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous and absurd. And it's not to say that in the 1800s, like pre-industry things were better, that women just died in childbirth and they had a million children and the children died and it wasn't a big deal. I don't know, I wasn't alive then, but it seemed that like people wrote that off. That's not better. But oh god, this is just such a bummer that this is the direction we moved from there. It really is. It just seems like a real hit and a miss. Sorry, I really
Feels
got
like a
off
real
on that.
big no, it feels like I never thought about some of that stuff with like vacuum cleaners, dishwashers. But something clicked in my brain when you said that. And it just feels like a big scam to me.
Yeah,
Like what a
it is. It's a
scam.
big scam. It's a big scam. But guess what? You buy a lot more stuff when you're stretched like that. Like capitalism thrives when people are spread too thin and are maybe making some money. And then they want to make more money so that they can buy more stuff so that their life can be easier. Oh my God. And it just makes life harder. You just have more stuff to manage. And then you need more stuff. And so
Manage the stuff.
it's exactly. And so it's just really when we could just like say to the person living next door to us, "Hey, do you think that everyone on the block should maybe all buy one lawnmower and we could share it because we don't need to use it every day?" But that would require that we have an interconnected neighborhood group, and we don't have
Right.
it.
Right. And I do feel like conservative politics are harping on we need to get back to the nuclear family and all of these things. And we need to get back to talking to each other and talking to our neighbors and building relationships. And part of this, you cited a study on how people who spend time with kids report lower levels of stress and are less likely to abuse substances. Can you speak to that? Because I do, again, it's probably just my bubble because when I travel, like I just went to Vietnam, I didn't really see this as much. But this big gap between like kids and then, people my age in their 30s and then their parents and their grandparents, it's like it's all fragmented.
Yes, okay. Um, yeah, this is one of my central beliefs is that spending time with children should be the next eating broccoli. I wish that that was like something I didn't have to explain, but that is sort of the gist, which is that spending time with children is good for you, and we know that. And also, I as a parent, I am I have too much of my kid. And people maybe I don't feel that way so much because I really actively trying not to spend too much time with my kid, but not okay. I
Mhm.
love spending time with my kid. I love it. But we have a lot of adults around on purpose so that she has
Mhm.
lots of people to look to see different ways of living. Um it might my point is like it might not be the thing you want to do. Like it might not be like your favorite thing to do. When I was younger, of course I was like I don't want to hang out with a 3-year-old. That sounds boring and hard. And it is sometimes sort of boring and hard. But it's really good for you. And it also is mutually beneficial for 3 different people, for you and your mental health, for your friend who's stretched too thin as a parent, and for the kid who's getting to know more adults. And we know for sure that more adults is good for kids as long as the adults are mentally stable and well. So this just feels like really simple to me. It feels like a really simple fix that if it were a little bit more mainstream as a concept would be good for everybody. And I feel regret that it isn't something I knew when I didn't have kids. It becomes more obvious when it's just like so much harder than even people tell you that it's like really hard. And it's just like so hard. And I think you wouldn't do it if you knew quite how hard it was, but there's no way to know without doing it, having kids, I mean. But I don't think
Yeah.
it needs to be that hard. I think it could be easier. For example, when we had our daughter, we lived with a couple who also had a son. And because we all lived in the same house, like only one person needed to wake up in the middle of the night, and there's 4 options, not 2 options, not one option, not just the chest feeding adult. It's like all 4 of those people could. So at least 3 out of 4 nights, everyone's getting enough sleep. And that's way better than 1 out of 2 nights. That's significantly better than that. Or they would go out on a date while their kid was asleep and we could just be home and if there was an emergency we were there and so they could go like have some time with each other. It just huge difference in how I experienced like newborn life versus how I have friends who say that was a really horrible time, and there's hormonal reasons for that. But for me, that was like I was blissed out. Like I just had a bunch of people around like doting on me and my little worm child,
Mhm.
and we were just feeding our needs and watching TV and taking care of each other, and it was really great. um
Mhm.
so yeah, I think it's important to start spending time with kids. And I have like incredible people in my life who are closer in age to you who do come and spend time with my daughter. Like at an hour at a time, like, can I spend an hour with T? Like I'll say,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, yes, please. I have so much to do." And then they'll take
Yeah.
her to the playground or they'll just like play with her in the living room, and it's just 1 hour and everyone leaves feeling better. So why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? It came really starkly to light during the pandemic when single people were really lonely and people with kids were way overtaxed. And it's like, well, you have way too much of the thing that I need. And I don't have any of and like you have way too much of the thing that I need. That's it. You have way too much of the thing that I need. So give me some of the thing that I need, and then you don't have too much, so it's not overwhelming you. It just feels obvious to me. feels obvious. But I wasn't
Yeah.
good at it when I was in the position to be helpful.
That's why I wanted to talk about it because I feel like, I'm at an age where people are either like starting to have kids or starting to think about it, or they're like,
Mhm.
no, definitely not. And
Mhm.
I think that people who haven't been around kids in a while forget how to be around them. Like they think they need to know how and they're sort of scared of it.
Yeah.
Or they think it's an inconvenience, so that's why I wanted to, bring this topic to listeners, because as I have more friends that are parents, I can see that strain on them, and
Yeah. Well, and I
like you
think
said, it doesn't need to be that way.
well, and I really think that it's two-sided. Like parents too need to let go of some of this belief that they are responsible solely for raising their children. And I think that's a problem. Like I don't think that's how we need to be. That's the nuclear family mindset is like
Mhm.
I need to get my kid into the best preschool. I need to take care of my kid. Like there's going to be some of that for you for sure. You're spending all your time with this person, but also letting go a little bit of the control like of your belief system, figuring maybe there are some things you might not be just automatically right about in terms of child rearing. Everyone thinks they know how to raise a child and nobody knows how to raise a child. So it's letting go of that a little bit, I couldn't breastfeed and my roommate uh didn't breastfeed for me, but gave my daughter her breast milk. And like, I've had moms say, oh my God, I would never want to share that with anybody. Like, that's mine. And it was pretty common in non-nuclear family times for women to um, wet nurse each other's children. And it's not harmful, but it is part of this like I own my child. Like my child is my child. That's my business that I have a bit of a problem with where I'm like, we all should take responsibility for each other's children. Like this is not we're not little lonely units. That's a success. That's like I need to succeed as an individual rather than I want to collectively care for my people.
Yeah. I think some people have sort of forgotten how to care for their people and be cared for by other people, which is
Oh, for
huge,
sure. Oh, so
and
huge.
that's like the other side of the coin, right? So for people I've forgotten, I would love to explore some basic ways to start, especially if you think about people who feel really isolated. Maybe they feel like a burden asking for things and they just feel overwhelmed by like going out into the world. Do you have some basic ways they can start to expand their net?
I mean, yeah, one of the things that's trickiest about this is it, in order to be in a position where it really is safe to ask for help, you have to invest time in people. And so you can't
Yeah.
skip that step. And I think that's really difficult. So if you're feeling like it's not working, it's because you're skipping this step of like spending time with people. That is like not time where it's just non-transactional time. It's like
Mhm.
I am just with you and you're not I'm not asking you for anything. You're not asking me for anything. We're just together. Sometimes that happens really naturally in like a workplace, which is why people get really close at work. It definitely happens naturally at college, like a lot, which is why so many of our closest friends are from college. But in adulthood, as we get older, that is not as naturally built into our lives, especially because like hanging out becomes sort of a like we have to schedule it and it's a whole thing and like we're gonna go get brunch and there's gonna be a line and it's gonna cost me $75 and it's like a whole production. And so
Yeah.
my advice would be if you're not in a relationship with people, there's a new bird on the tree. If you're not in a relationship with people who are safe to ask for help from, I think you're probably right. Like it is a big vulnerability. I don't think you should jump from 0 to 1,000 and suddenly be asking. But my advice is to integrate people rather than host them or rather than like make events out of things, which is to say have people over for dinner, but like you're already making dinner and it's like night of, and you're like, hey, I feel like I have too much pasta. Like, what are you doing for dinner? Do you want to come over? Or alternatively, are you guys, I know your family always has dinner. I'm hungry. Can I come over and join you? I'll bring dessert. I'll bring the wine. I'll bring some fruit, whatever. I'll bring a salad. I don't know what people do for dinner. Or I'm running errands. I'm going to be in your neighborhood. It's Saturday. Like, do you want to come with me? Do you have to return library books or go to Costco? Costco is a good one. People love going to Costco together. Like, are you so doing things that you're doing anyway, just at the same time? This is co-working. Like I have to work, you have to work. Let's just be quiet together and work together. We can like get a snack or whatever. This is just like logging hours with people so that you grow the trust, because there is sociologically a number of hours that you need to spend with someone before you reach friendship, and then also close friendship. The close friendship number is 200 hours. And so that's like a lot of time. Actually, it's a lot of time.
Mhm.
So, log some hours. And then I think it becomes more natural. Like one person will ask the other person for help. You're spending a lot of time together. One person's going to ask the other person for something. And then it becomes part of your relationship. And, I would say be really explicit in having conversations with people once you reach that level of like, I want to be able to ask you for things and I need you to be able to say no. Like I might not like it when you say no, and I just still need you to be able to do it. Like that has to be a part of this. And that's the tough thing, because we're so terrified of asking for help that if you're asked, you can't say no. Someone's asking you because they're desperate, and it needs to be like, oh, you know what? It'd be nice for me to have help right now, but I'll be okay if I don't. Those have to be some of the asks. And then in order to make that work, because it's not socially normalized, you have to talk about it in advance. Like you have to sit with someone and be like, I want to have a relationship with you where we can ask for help and say no to each other for like simple things. And so then you have to practice things that the person's going to say no to. Like, I'm going to ask you to help me with the dishes and I want you to say no to me. And then just like notice how uncomfortable that is and just work through that. And then you get to a really nice new place where help kind of flows in both directions. And I can attest that this does work. I really have relationships like that. You don't get a ton of them because there's not enough time in life. You have to be discerning. I have like two or three that are really valuable to me.
Yeah, I also think there's this idea some people have that like it needs to be quantity. I need all these friends and they all need
Right.
to meet all of these needs that I
Right.
have.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
it's quality, right? One or two, this friend
It's
meets this
quality.
needs,
It's quality.
this friends meet this needs.
I
Um,
mean, it's both. It's quality and quantity, because the quality is those kin people, but then the quantity is the peripheral kin. So you
right.
also have to develop these loose relationships. In fact, like the loose relationships, that's where you're going to get a job, because your close friends can't really recommend you for a job. You're too close to each other. It's not appropriate for you to work together for whatever reason. It just happened to my very closest friend, Jess, that one of like a friend of a friend, like my friend worked at a place that was hiring for what she is, which is an art therapist. And because he peripherally knew her and like trusts me, because we've known each other a long time, their company hired her. And so she got that job over somebody else because of her loose tie to him and because she spent time with him, but it's not like she has a really deep connection with him. So if like something happens at the job and they let her go, it's not like a friendship is ruined over it. And he doesn't have like conflict of interest. So those things are really important too. And also people to check on you, like, oh, she wasn't at the book club, like maybe she's really sick and then she's not answering the phone, and then maybe you are like, you want people to know if you're not doing okay. So this is a lot of relationships and also just a few. It's worth working on.
Yeah, when you were talking about the loose relationships, I thought of this because I just was in a somatic course about like people pleasing and the fawn
Mm,
response
mm,
and all of these things. And it made me reflect on how throughout my life I want to be like everything for everyone. I want to be every friend's favorite. We need to be best
yeah,
friends. I need to be your number one.
yeah,
And one that prevents you from having those loose friendships if you're
yeah.
trying
They're
to
really
do that.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, and so other people, if they feel like that as well, I think that's something that I've worked on and have been able to expand my friend group to people who like, "Oh, I see you here for this specific activity,
Right,
and I
right,
see you once a week to do this," instead of like we are like, we know every single thing about each other and
right,
will die for each
right.
other.
Well, and also allow those really close ones to transition to less close ones. It's really hard, but it's also
Mm,
very natural and normal. There's another statistic that's in the book that's like every 7 years, half of your closest friends turn over. So if you think back 7 years ago, whoever you thought were your closest friends, probably about half of those are no longer as close if you're really honest with yourself and you have new people
mm.
sort of in those positions. You can only have so many super close friends and they naturally do turn over time, and it's okay. Like, it's not a failure of the relationship. It's not because someone did something wrong. We grow in different directions. Proximity is very important, and like, you that doesn't make that relationship less valuable if it becomes less close. And so some of that is hard for us to let go of as well.
Yeah, that seems like one of the harder parts. I mean, which will naturally happen either
It's
way,
hard.
but just being honest with ourselves about it.
Oh, it's you can
Um,
cling and be like, oh, I never see you anymore, and be really sad about it, or be like, oh, I never see her anymore. I guess our friendship is different than it was, and it's really fine. It doesn't mean it's not going to get really close again, but you have to sort of start with like, what are my needs and how do I get them met? And a lot of times, yeah, when we're people pleasers, we go to what's everybody else's need, and I have to guess what it is, and I want to meet their need exactly what it is, and it's not for us to do. We're usually wrong anyway.
Going back to we don't know. We don't know what
We
we're
don't know.
doing.
It's the title of this episode. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, so just relax.
Just chill, man.
Just everyone, I just keep saying that lately. I'm like, I would really like everyone to just go home and like maybe light some candles and like relax just for a
Have a
second, you know?
have a nice long rest. It's
Yes.
gonna be good for
Sleep.
you. Mhm.
Yes. That was going into some of the harder parts of, I mean, I just guess everyday relationships and building kin. One of my closest people asked a question on our Patreon for you, which is, how do we end or bifurcate relationships we've outgrown when they feel deleterious to us? And how can we say we need space without hurting someone's feelings? Which is what we're talking about here, like
Yeah.
some of these relationships growing apart.
Okay. First of all, I wanna give that person a lot of props for using some very big words. It was
I
really
know, I had to
really
look them
felt
up.
cool. I
I
think I
was
know what
like,
they
"Am I
mean.
saying these right?"
I
Like,
feel like the
yeah.
last time I heard deleterious was like in an 8th grade vocabulary club that I was in, so I'm ready for it. I'm ready to talk about harmful relationships.
Good.
Okay. So the first thing is you don't have any control over how people feel about the things that you say. And
Mm,
so the idea that you are responsible for somebody's emotional reaction, you got to let it go, because you can say something in the most kind, truly loving, like, just you mean it from the most beautiful part of your heart. And you're saying it in the best way that, you could win an award for how good you're saying it. And the person could feel like you shot them in the stomach. Like, it really, that has nothing to do with you. That's because of something that happened to them a long time ago. And their feelings are going to be hurt. And it's okay. It's just not for you to tend to, unless they ask you to be a part of that conversation, or like they choose to bring it up, like, wow, that was really hurtful because, and I want to talk about it. And then that's for them to do. So the first thing is, you don't get to decide if you hurt people's feelings or not. Like, you will, for sure. You just for sure will. And so what you weigh there is the boundary, like how important the boundary is for you. And very often. I think it really is really important to set one or to have one. Sometimes you don't need to say it out loud. Sometimes a boundary is just a thing that you do, and you can just it's okay to just like take a step back from a person and just sort of start to distance yourself. That's an okay thing to do. You don't have to explain it to them if you feel really like you need to. I mean, I believe you probably already have the language because the language is just what is true. And you can script it, or you can say, I want to talk to you. It's going to be a difficult conversation. Those things are all good. It's going to be different depending on the relationship. In general, when people are like moving toward I'm going to say a breakup. Friend breakups are really, really tricky because we think of friendships as being very flexible and romantic relationships as being brittle. And in fact, all relationships have lots of textures, and that's good. But if you're doing a friend breakup, if you're like wanting to actually say, I need to get out of this relationship with someone, I would recommend not doing that over text or email. I would say either physically take space or a phone call or sitting down and talking. Those things are helpful. But sometimes if you're in a dangerous situation, an email is what you got to do. There's a lot of different reasons why people communicate in different ways. I just say for in general, we say things over text that we don't mean because, or even maybe we do mean them, but that we can lose sight of each other's humanities. Sorry. This is my theory on that. The internet is like cars, which is that when you can't see somebody, you can erase their humanity, even if you love them, even if you're like picturing them. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's helpful to be able to hear someone's reaction or see someone's reaction so you keep their humanity in sight. Again, like it's just so different for different relationships. But I love that this person is thinking about this, and I think I'm sorry, I've got like a little thing in my throat. And I think that it is really essential to be taking stock of like what relationships you want to put your time toward. Again, you just have finite time. It's not infinite. There are people who it might not even be deleterious. It might just be like, man, I just don't have time. And this isn't like really giving me much right now.
Or I don't
It's
want to. I just like
right.
don't
I don't
want
want
to
to.
anymore.
I just don't feel like it. Yeah. And I just do think in those cases, like, you know, I'm too busy. I'm sorry. I've got a lot going on right now. I'll let you know if anything changes. I like it's a specific boundary. Like someone asks you, hey, do you want to like go on a trip? I'm being really mindful about how I spend my weekends because I have blah, blah, blah going on. It's not untrue. I really wish I could say yes to this, but I can't or whatever. I think it's okay to just take space. Um, I love that this person is thinking about this. And the main thing I would want for their mantra to be would be you are not responsible for other people's emotions. That's just really true. Doesn't mean you can be mean. Don't be mean. But we have this idea that truthfulness and honesty those are mean. Those are mean things, and
Mhm.
I think they're truthfulness, honesty. Like that's the kindest thing. That's the kindest thing. Honesty is always about you. So it's always like I feel, I notice, I see, like I observe. Like it's never you did this or you are this. It's always about you. So sharing about you is a gift. Period. Period.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
My absolute pleasure.
I think a lot of people struggle with that regardless of age and stage in life. So,
I mean, I want to add too, though, like I quote this a lot. This is Pooja Lakshmin, who wrote Real Self Care, which is a really good book around some of these topics. She says, you can't have a boundary without a consequence. And I really, really think that's important and it gets lost in the conversation. You have to weigh it. Like, life is not always comfortable and it's important for us to be uncomfortable. And, like, yes, we do make sacrifices for other people. And so you take a second to be like, how important is this relationship? Sometimes you're really uncomfortable with someone at work and you choose not to set a boundary because you want to keep your job, and that's like going to be more important for different people. Sometimes you see a friend who's treating you like shit, and sorry, can I say the
Oh,
S
it's
word?
fine. Yeah, you say
I've
whatever you
already said it.
want.
You have a friend who's treating you like shit, and you're like, but they're really going through a hard time right now. And you
Mhm.
just moment by moment weigh, like, do I get in the way of their really hard time and talk to them about how it's making me feel, or do I like just let it like stomach it because I have a little more capacity at this time? There's no that it's slippery. That there's no hard and fast rules around it, and it is genuinely like, yes, there will be a consequence. A no is going to hurt someone's feelings, and you have to just decide, is that going to be harder for you than having to just do the thing? Because if that's going to
Mhm.
be, if you're not emotionally ready to say no, then don't. It really is like, and I have a chapter in the book about boundaries. It's just all about this and how slippery this is and how tricky it is, and has a little bit more concrete advice around it. It's about boundaries, and I think we talk about boundaries wrong, but I'm running out of time here, so I'll stop talking.
Yes.
I'm so
Well,
long-winded.
I want everyone to read the book. It feels so timely and so important right now, at least for me. I'm like, what you're like all of these major themes we are all struggling with. Please read this, a handbook to life. Like if I could make it mandatory for everyone listening, I
Thank
would.
you.
Yeah, I guess I would like to ask you if you had any last thoughts for listeners, or if there's anything that really surprised you about people when you were researching and writing this book.
Well, I think you and I maybe talked about this offline at the beginning of this episode, but I think I think the thing that I keep finding is like that people are adaptable. I think I said this to you already, but people are very
Yeah.
adaptable, and there's just evidence, more evidence, evidence, evidence. Like we actually can tolerate a lot, and there are, you're going to make mistakes and choices that don't work for you, and you weigh whether or not you're going to keep, moving forward with the plans you're making, or change them. But if you're a person who feels stuck in something, like, it's not that there's a way out, it's that there's a way through, and there are different paths forward from where you're standing. So if you're in a shitty relationship, you can't get out. That's a good example of like there's people who are financially entwined and you're just not going to get out of that relationship. Period. It's the end. Um, but that doesn't mean you have to be suffering. That you can still find more people. You can still change how you're doing childcare. You can rethink things in small ways and see how they work or not. And sometimes I think some of these ideas feel scary just to some people. I think for other people, they're like, Sophie's not radical enough. Well, I already do all this stuff. And like, good for you. Love that for you. But if you're a person who's like, I just couldn't possibly like, share a lawnmower with my neighbors, you could, and it would be okay. So, like, do one
Mhm.
thing that seems like it's uncomfortable. If like any idea in this direction toward other people sounds scary, but it also sounds like it would be cool and good, like just give it a shot. And you're going to be surprised at how much you can be uncomfortable. You actually can be quite uncomfortable, and it might lead to something really amazing. There's no comfortable way forward. Also, it's just no. You have to have some friction in order to grow. Yeah,
That's life.
that's life. That's how.
That's
That's why
life.
the plants have to push through that hard seed shell.
Yeah, it's a great time for people to look at spring when it comes, when it's around the corner, and like
God love
just
it.
see how things are messy. They're popping up at different times. Like we're moving
They're all
forward.
over the place. Always
Yeah.
forward, I think. I'm not sure. Who knows what time is? Again, I'll say that again. Just might be moving in
Yeah.
circles, and who can say? I don't need to know.
Just might be moving. Where?
Yeah,
We don't
it's
know.
just we're all in motion. It's a big waterfall. Yeah,
So
and
the whole
don't be
point
afraid
is
of
everyone relax and we don't know what's
just
happening. We have
relax,
no
just
idea what's
chill.
going on, so relax.
Yeah, don't be afraid to love each other. It's all there is. That's kind of all there is.
Beautiful. Is there ways that you would like to connect with listeners or have them find your work and support what you're doing?
Yeah, I please check this book out. I really want to talk more about these things with folks, and the book took me a long time, so I would love to talk to people about it. I also am on Instagram at Sophie Lucido Johnson and on Substack at this my newsletter is called You Are Doing a Good Enough Job. You get the gist. It's you're doing a good enough job.
Yeah.